Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast where we analyze, we scrutinize, and we celebrate the heck out of the rise of Skywalker. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And I'm Tom Taylor from ABCDTOS.
And I'm John Ingle, also from ABCDTOS.
Oh my gosh, you guys are both from the same show?
It's weird.
What do we?
Yeah.
Kind of a coincidence that we're all here together. Pete's actually on the show too, which makes it even weirder.
I knew he looked familiar. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for... so, go ahead, Pete.
No, I was gonna say apologies. Joe Mazel is medically not cleared to podcast for the evening, so he's
Transporter malfunction.
We'll see if we can get him in during the week, but it's not looking likely.
Yeah, we couldn't get him bonded. The insurance company wouldn't bond him for this.
Not that guy.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully he called in with a lot of, we just finished listening to a lot of his 8-Day Greedo calls that he left. So maybe that'll.
Oh, just insert those anywhere. Figure that out.
Something clobbering time.
Anyway, It's minute number 101. 101, The Blaze. That's Star Wars Minute. Episode 101 starts with Poe's X-Wing and Fortitude flying through a bunch of blue clouds. And it ends a minute later with Rey walking through a spooky blue passageway while static electricity cackles all around her.
Whoa.
It's pretty spooky in there.
I feel like we should have pushed this. We should have started the season a little bit later, so these episodes could have been around Halloween. You know, these should have been October episodes.
All right, everyone listening,
also
pause this. Don't listen.
Stop listening until October.
Yeah.
Go catch up on ABC.
Retroactively. Let's back it up. We should have started even later because then Rey gets to go visit Ghost Luke and all that. We could have had October.
Whoa.
Man.
That can't be the first time you've said that, right? Certainly that was said at some point. I don't know. Seems like it should have been at least. Better late than never.
I think so taking it one step further, we got to let Asterios know that he should have Octoberd Fest for Porgs.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. The Octobirds.
Yeah.
Porgs.
Wow.
Anyway. Giving away all these jewels, Pete.
Does he have to brew a beer for that or anything or what?
There's a beer
I think
for that.
so. Some kind of...
Anyway, so Poe and the ship arrive, and he's ordering us to look at that fleet. Did you guys also think he was going to say, "Look at the size of this thing" or something?
I mean, it's kind of what he says. It's just a variation on it, right?
Right. But it's, yeah.
Is this? Yeah. I was just going to say, this is one of those points where I'm kind of wondering why the choice to have this line. So this is like a whole shot, a whole setup. Like, let's have you say this here. And other than it being some kind of an homage to the look at the size of this thing, which I guess it is, it's just really not a necessary line. It's like they've been talking about the size of this fleet the whole movie. There's nothing particularly surprising about it. I mean, I guess just the awe of it, but it doesn't really help us any. It's like, okay, well, now we know that he's awed by the size of the fleet, which I think is just taken as read. I don't know.
I mean, I think, it's supposed to be like they did prepare for it, and yet they're still taken aback by how many ships there actually are.
Yeah.
That could be expressed differently, though. That could be a little more, instead of just like, I see a lot of spaceships.
Said exactly those words.
Could just be like, just something a little more inspired.
Or exactly that. Like, what's his name from...
Rick Ollier,
or Rick Ollier, but I was going to say...
Star Destroyers.
What's the kid that he was studying in Royal Tenenbaums? Like, that cab has a dent in it. Like, that same kind of thing.
The Heisenberg
There's
effect,
there's a lot of spaceships.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's his name. I think that the line... I can't remember either.
Yeah.
He's in Freaks and Geeks. All I know is that kid's in Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I never put that together. Thank you, John. That is the guy from Freaks and Geeks.
He's the wizened nerd that sits on the wall that gives them advice. The thing about this line and Poe, so all this week we're going to get Poe in X-Wing in battle, and he's particularly high strung, right? Like when he's in that X-Wing seat, it seems like he's extra amped up, and it kind of, to me, it's kind of a byproduct of the whole movie. Like I was watching it again. I've seen it a few times. I was watching it again the other day, and I was thinking about scene for scene how how tightly wound everybody is, and how bickery they are, and how it's just kind of like a strangely cantankerous movie in how they interact with each other. And then we get to this point, but Poe in particular, just throughout this whole week, he's just so geared up. It's interesting. It's almost like he huffed something before he got in there, just something to get,
well, I guess
get himself psyched up for this thing.
He's supposed to be feeling the weight of leadership, I guess, right? He's the guy now. Like everybody else is dead,
right,
or they went away, and it's all on his shoulders apparently. Which he's been happy to take that on before, and he was a hotshot about it, and things went great or otherwise.
Well, but there were always people above him. Like there was a safety net still.
That's
true. He was like, I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to make these decisions. But there was always a safety net above him. And now it's just like, oh, well, this is
now when these 50 starships are blown away by all these Star Destroyers, it's all going to be my fault. when this doomed to failure mission fails, I'll feel bad.
He keeps like tapping his earpiece. He's like, why isn't somebody yelling at me to stop doing this? Like, why?
Mom?
It's like the reverse of the Force. He's like looking around, tapping his earpiece. Like, how come nobody's telling me this is a bad idea?
I kind of wish that, because I don't feel like Poe, I'm not saying this is a criticism. I don't feel like Poe changes over the course of the story. And I don't think he has to. He's kind of a already fully formed hero guy. He doesn't have to have a big story. But if they were going to do this thing about him becoming the leadership angle, I wish they had kind of played it up more. And this Poe, if they're going to do that, this Poe should be a very different Poe than the first movie where he was green and angry. But he still seems like he's essentially the same guy, you know what I mean? He's not, he hasn't like taken on a new gravitas as like the commander or anything like that. So
I mean, I guess he's if he's different, he's sort of flailing. Like in this sequence specifically, he's like freaked out by all these ships, which is natural. But then he's like later on, he's like, guys, he goes into the soliloquy later on. These aren't our minutes, but he's like, guys, I failed you. We're not going to make it. And it's like, what? Somebody saying something over the radio? What? And it's like he's kind of giving up. He's kind of freaked out, understandably. But it's his cockiness has kind of all gone out the window.
Have you guys ever heard of Have you ever heard of the Peter principle?
Yes, unfortunately.
Anyway, it says that
yes, unfortunately,
in like an organization, people will rise to like one level above their best level because they have a good job, and then they get promoted one more time, and then suddenly they're in over their heads, and then that's why everyone's so bad at their jobs. So this is kind of like what happened with Poe. He's much better as like a second in command kind of like Riker to Captain Picard. He's a good.
Sorry, we only covered the original series.
Sorry, at least like
Riker's you speak of.
Like Nurse Chapel to Bones, like that type of relationship.
And I'll say that this Peter principle, in dramatic terms, I mean, to me, then the guy's got to die, right? Like if you're going to have this third step and they've already reached the top, then the only way to dramatically use them really is to kill them off and have them motivate then everyone else who still hasn't reached that level yet in their arc. And that's the same problem I think they had with Han Solo in Return of the Jedi, much discussed. And there's a lot of similarities between Poe and Solo, where they kind of reached where they needed to get as characters in the end of the second movie. So I'd see Harrison Ford has these fantastic narrative instincts. If you ever read his notes in the margins of his scripts, it's always like pretty spot on stuff, and he just seemed to always had some really good notes. And I think so. I really thought his instincts were right about dying in Return of the Jedi. It would have made more dramatic sense, and then we wouldn't have gotten this kind of lame Han Solo that we get in Return of the Jedi. And I don't know about Poe here. He's just kind of flat. It's just a flat character in this movie, and I love Oscar Isaac as an actor, and I like Poe Dameron. I'm okay with him not dying. Don't get me wrong. I'm not insisting he had to die. I'm just saying it in dramatic terms. It kind of seems like that's the next logical step. And then everyone else could get more time, more real estate in the story to deal with that. And it could have motivated, especially Finn. It feels like Finn needs to move to another motivation, right? That's another thing.
Yeah.
His motivation with Rey is completely kind of out of gas in this movie too. So why not transfer him to Poe? Poe dies, and now he has to do something about that. I don't know exactly what that would be, but it just seems to me like these trajectories make a little more sense than what we get.
Right.
Well, Finn,
that was a mistake made in the first movie. That was also like, Poe was supposed to die. Freeing Finn essentially. Then they just had this like duplicate. Like neither one had anything interesting. Not they don't have anything interesting to do, but both characters suffered for having both of them survive.
Yeah. See, but then even in this sequence, I know that we're getting into other people's minutes and stuff, but like later on, actually maybe it's tomorrow or something, I forget. But like Finn is actually the one who kind of does, like Poe's kind of in his spaceship and he's shooting at stuff and he's despairing and then he's happy when everybody shows up and stuff. But like Finn is improvising and he comes up with a new plan on the spot and everything. I know. It's true. So he is kind of stepping up where Poe is sort of, he really doesn't have anywhere to go.
Even more reason to get rid of Poe, because that's, like, that's his, the guy who brought him here died and now it's his turn to kind of step up and take over. And then that's also like, there's a delicious kind of irony to that, hey, this, former stormtrooper is now leading the fight, is leading the entire resistance battle against the First Order or the Final Order. But you know what I mean.
See, I love Poe's story as it is through The Last Jedi. I love that he's this sort of kind of boilerplate hero in the first movie, but that's fine. I kind of want that in a Star Wars movie, somebody to be that. And then Rian Johnson wrote him as kind of spoiled because of, he's like a golden boy, right? So he's a spoiled brat in the second one and gets straightened out. Yeah, exactly. Which I thought was really strong. I don't care what anybody says about all that stuff. I thought that was all really strong stuff. And by the end, he becomes the leader. That's supposed to be the idea. So they kind of repeat it again here, which is not great. And to me, the Peter principle in as you said, Alex, in regards to drama would be like the last bit of leadership would have to be sacrificing yourself for everyone. That's the last. What more could you do? You can order people to do things. You can lead a battle. He's already done all that. So he really needs to take it one step further. So I really think that would have been strong for him and strong for everyone else. But they didn't. They chose not to do that. They're kind of afraid of. Are they kind of afraid of killing people in this?
I think so.
The people that die become ghosts. The people that should die don't. I don't know.
Well, you never know. I mean, they might want to do a Poe series later on. They want to keep their options open. I can't imagine them killing off any characters anymore.
There's that cutscene where Poe gives his Katra to Finn right before the big battle, just in case.
That's all you got to do. Just come up with an out. Kill them, and then if you need them, you can bring them back somehow.
The exception is people like Adam Driver, who you're like, they probably won't come back to, they won't come back to Star Wars.
Probably not.
So they're like, okay, we could kill him off because
I think Oscar Isaac probably fits that too. I don't think he's. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure outside of Daisy Ridley how many of these people want to do Star Wars again. Actually, but
they've all expressed their frustrations. I think.
In
the
as much as Oscar Isaac definitely does have high notes, but he obviously has also displayed that he will do almost anything.
Yeah, especially for the Disney Corporation.
That's
true. He is still working for the Marvels.
I have to make the stupid joke because you put it in my head earlier, Alex, and you said, when we first met Poe, he was green, and I got to say, no, that was Dipsy. Dipsy's the green one, Poe's the red one. And
wow,
yeah. Thank you.
Star Wars minute.
Sorry, my screen froze
good
up.
Spot for a commercial break.
My screen froze up. I was laughing hysterically there. You just couldn't see it.
There you go.
Yeah. It's all a glitch.
So they come out of this cloud, and the Star Destroyers immediately are like pew, 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 shooting at him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can we assume that the only reason they know that a fleet was coming is because Rey came out of Lightspeed too close to the system, and now there's something like, oh, look, where'd this X-Wing come from? And then suddenly now there's a whole bunch of ships. So thanks, Rey.
Yeah, I think at the very least you'd be prepared. Okay, an enemy ship just came out of that hole over there. We probably better point some guns at the hole.
Land on the far side of the planet.
Everybody watch the hole.
You couldn't just wait meet me by the doorway, and then we'll go in together. It's anyway.
Well, I do when they are firing and stuff. Like I really like the physicality of the sound design. Where like as those guns turn, it's very like clinky clanky.
Yeah, I wrote that too. It's like a very grindy sound of it, turning.
Yeah,
is awesome.
And you picture like a there's stormtroopers inside like manually pushing a capstan or something.
Guy whipping a
shell in there.
Right, talking into a little like right up, guns ready.
And as silly as it is, I think all the Star Destroyers stacked on top of each other like so many dominoes. Stacked dominoes. It is a cool fight seeing them.
After putting them away.
It's a cool place to have a space battle. You know what I mean? It's a good setting to have a space battle.
I do have to say, though, that this fleet and the whole idea of this fleet is one of the aspects of this movie that kind of is a microcosm of like the kind of written by a excited 10-year-old kind of feeling to the whole movie. Like, and in this one, there's like a bamillion Star Destroyers, and they all have Death Star guns on them, and they make you eat your vegetables, and you know, it's like
and the guys are red inside.
Yeah, and they go pew pew, and everything blows up.
Can I just say that, like, I from one angle, you know, the sophisticated critic angle or whatever of film, it's like, oh God, it's like being written by a 10-year-old. But from someone who likes to consume Star Wars, it's like, yeah, it's written like a 10-year-old wrote it. I mean,
really,
that's what I'm trying to tap back into.
So. I guess I just wish, maybe like if JJ had like run around in circles in the backyard before he sat down to write the story, then it would be take those edges off a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Somebody go throw a tennis ball for JJ for a bit.
No more apple juice until he
writes the next draft.
Yeah. What you need is the 10-year-old to kind of come up with a concept and tell the story, but then an adult should basically edit it and tighten it up and make it at least. Yeah,
so that's why we can't.
Like a hyperactive 10-year-old telling somebody with a pipe, like,
you would hope that other guy was that guy, right? Like, a lot of times that is kind of the relationship, you know, but with a director who's just like, I mean, Spielberg's famous for just throwing things at the wall, having the worst ideas. You know, 9 out of 10 of them are unbelievably bad, and somebody else reels them in. And you would think this other, I can't remember his name now, Chris Terrios, is that his name?
Chris Terrio.
Yeah.
You need to Gary Kurtz.
I think he's just as bad. Yeah. I think he might be just as bad. It might have been two 10-year-olds, which is fun in a way. I mean, that's what, you know, when it comes down to it, that's kind of my feelings about this movie. It's like, oh, it's kind of fun in its way. It's
the bad guy's
good,
Skeletor.
But I have fun with it. I don't know. But, and I think it looks great. I mean, I love this. You know, everything to me, the whole movie looks pretty great. I have nitpicks about some ideas, design ideas or whatever. And this is just a little flat here. You might want to get a little bit more contrasty in this space battle. I mean, but I still think it looks cool. The color scheme, and I don't know.
It's too like blue and washed out to have your climax. But both parts of your climax be like washed out blue, like desaturated, kind of like. You know, almost like a black and white movie, but through a blue filter, like for both ends of it. And you get some, obviously, pops of explosions and stuff like, pops exploded in Star Wars. No, wait. You get some, you know, laser blasts and stuff that are colorful, but it overall too much kind of washed out, you know, just stark blue and even hard to see. It's like dark blue too. So it's like, all right.
Yeah, you're right. Because Jedi, you went from Endor, which was all green and bright, to the Death Star parts, which were all gray and dark. So
But then the ships are lighter gray. And then when you get inside the Death Star, there's all these like variations of color with the, you know, these things that were well thought out, where there's escalation of color scheme. Where here, and don't these Star Destroyers even have red stripes like on the front? Kind of, I'm trying to remember. I feel like there was that poster for IMAX where there was the Star Destroyer and the X-Wing right in front of it, and you see these little lines, I think, but those don't pop out at all. You only see them if it's pretty tight on the ship, and you would think
if they had made have that, you know, like the red cloud that they just flew through. Like if Exegol was just all red like that, glowing red on the outside, and then inside the temple was blue, then you'd have that contrast and back and forth. And I've already complained about like the lightsaber thing where it's like, oh, we're going to go inside a blue room that's lit by lightning and it's all just dark and then blue flashes and then we're going to bring 2 blue lightsabers and that's going to be our battle. It's like, and those be blue electricity. Yeah. Like, it's like, hey,
see, Pete, what you just
throw something else in? No.
What you just described was basically Crate in Last Jedi, right? Like that was wonderful, like white stark that could turn red at the movement or something crashing or a foot sliding or whatever, which was pretty brilliant. And there wasn't much thought. And there's these red stormtroopers, and I'm saying to myself, well, we get that in those scenes, but why not? Let's red up these Star Destroyers. Why not? Like, if you're going to go all the way with it, let's do something. But maybe not red, because red was the scheme of the last movie. Do something else. Nevertheless, something else. You know? I don't know. Make them very white. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Barry White?
Make them Barry White.
Barry White should show up.
Yeah, sure. What are they going to do? It also seems like, like Alex, you were saying that this is a cool setting for a giant space battle, and it is. But I do get this, and I'm sure people can show me shots, and maybe we'll see them this week, of like that contradicts what I'm going to say. But it feels like the ships are just kind of like a background or a backdrop to the battle, and they don't. I know they do, but it doesn't feel like the fighters get in there and do anything dynamic, or they're not mixing it up with the Star Destroyers. It's like there's Star Destroyers in the background and they're shooting and everybody's shooting. And
I think them being penned in makes them, because when they're in space, it's like a shark. Out there, you feel like it's like moving around and stuff, but all bunched together, they can't like maneuver.
Right,
and
they
stuff.
just stay in that formation, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, and that's what they can't. They fly. They're like, all right, let's get to their altitude so that they can't shoot us, basically.
Yeah. But Return of the Jedi, you got them like the rebels, targeted the big balls on the thing, the shield generators, whatever, and stuff.
Pardon.
And, I know we all said balls. But yeah, I was 13 when that happened, and I giggled.
Yeah. Look at the balls on that thing.
Look at the size of those balls. All right.
One thing I do miss about Star Wars space battles, and I felt it acutely in these scenes, is the A New Hope has that great little like get off the those towers and stuff like it. Like the kind of, you get the sense that there's a battle going on. People are talking to each other, relaying information. It's all crackly and it all, other than Poe and Finn, it just seems like everyone else is just kind of doing what they're told.
Everybody's soliloquies come through perfectly with no crackle.
We get one, that's true, and they get their moments. So we do get somebody. So two things related to that. One. Not only does Poe talk, but ADR Poe talks. We were talking last week about, was it last week we were talking about ADR characters, also adding in their 2 cents. And ADR Poe shows up here because, he says something and then, flies his X-Wing towards the Star Destroyers. And all of a sudden it's like, don't give up, help is coming. Yeah. And it's like, sounds like it's coming from somebody else. All of a sudden it's not part of the same movie.
I think that's called Grandpa Munstering, right?
Why?
It's an old Billy West joke about how on the Munsters they would throw in these horribly disconnected ADR moments of Grandpa all the time. You just like, what did you do, you big dummy? Stuff like that would just come out off the screen. I don't know. I'm just thinking about.
I would let that.
Clever name.
You should have done that.
Yeah.
Flown in.
Yeah.
It's like they deactivated the tower. Like, what'd you do, you big dummy?
That was my tower.
But we do also get a clear shot of a pilot. Yelling at Snap Wexley to pay attention because Snap's just messing it up here.
Yeah, but
and he says, "Watch your starboard, Wexley."
Starboard.
Snap is like, "Whoa, whoa,
Snap.
Yeah,
what?
I didn't realize it until seeing your little minute slice and not the whole movie that he's telling him to get out of his way. That's what happens there. They almost hit each other, and I'm kind of like, didn't you just get here? And aren't you all going the same direction? How did this happen? This seems incredibly clumsy. How did that A-Wing get ahead and turn around and come back? Well, it seems, though, that Snap might be the one that's on the right trajectory. I don't know. I'd have to look at it again. But it's like, how did this happen? This is a really clumsy start to your battle here, guys.
It's like when someone is on, it's like when an escalator is going in, people step off the escalator and then just stopped. That's kind of what happened. Snap just went there and then just stopped. And
Maybe
everyone's bumping into him. And
I'm looking at the size of that thing. Give me a second.
Yeah. I was told to look at the fleet. What do you need? I'm following orders here.
Yes,
That's
sir.
true. He didn't tell him to look at it. He didn't tell him to stop looking at it.
But the other driver potentially at fault here is somebody we've met before. He's Sefton Vanek. Sefton Vanek was, as we looked around the briefing, he's the guy who has this movie's equivalent of 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer. That guy. Nice. He's the one who said ground team, when they were saying the air team is going to do this, the ground team's going to do that. And he's like, ground team?
Oh, right. And Finn does that move where he's like, I got an idea. Like that.
Right, yeah.
I got it figured out.
But yes, Sefton Vanek making his return in Snap's way.
Is there anything else about the space battle you guys want to talk about, or can we move to Rey skulking around silently in caves for the remainder of the minute?
For the remainder of the week.
All my notes are about the space battle.
Yeah, me too.
It was nice to see a B-wing get its head blown off because.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of A-wings or B-wings that much because I was a grumpy guy.
In the X-Wing Fighter Simulator, they were very fun. The A-Wings, they were very fast back in the old days, what I like to call the 90s.
I don't like fast.
I feel like Pete and I have always been kind of on the same page with the ships. We're both Y-Wing guys all the way. And I was going to say, that was one note I did have for earlier. When they first pop into the scene, we get, I think, every classic Rebellion ship is present, right? Because we get the Tanda V4 and him. The only one that's added is that big thing with the thing that Finn's in, which makes sense for this movie. That well, we're also going to show the thing that Finn's in, but we get the B-wing, A-wings, X-wings, Y-wings, all of it. It's a nice little moment to freeze frame on. No U-wing. I would like to have seen a U-wing.
Yeah, U-wing.
Because I'm a big fan of the U-wing. But
you're a big Dallas fan.
Yeah, I love the U-wings. Yeah, love the U-wings. I was always a JR guy.
I mean that's one of the ways where I don't know. If this had been the finale of the entire series, there would have been a E-wing in it. You know what I mean? They would have looked back at all the ships that were used and kind of included them for as a kind
everything
of curtain
from
call. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Z-95 headhunters and
I'm really sad that none of these minutes have the big ship reveal that my kid just adores about this. Every time I'm just like, pause it, rewind. I want to see it again, but I won't even say what it is right now. Just, I don't want to steal anybody's thunder for later, but.
All right.
Well, I'll save all my spooky cave walking notes for tomorrow because I feel like it might continue for a bit, this walking around spooky caves.
She doesn't just decide to leave. She's like, this is creepy. I'm out of here. Let's see what's going on in space.
How would she get back up? That thing.
She gets spooked and then runs out in fast motion.
That elevator
leaves
thing.
Like a ray-sized hole in the door.
I mean, if you just step back onto that elevator thing, will it go back up? I don't quite know how that wores. We could talk about that now or tomorrow. You
have to press A, I think.
You probably have already talked about the elevator thing, right? What's up?
That was like 6 months ago, so I don't remember.
Was it? The first time you see it's like at the very beginning of the movie, right? I just don't understand how it works. Is Palpatine controlling it? Is it just step on it, floats down, step on it, floats up? It could be that. I don't know.
There should have been a scene of Rey pushing a button at the top, like, does this do anything?
You need a key fob to activate the elevator.
Yeah. Can I help you?
Or the old man, like with the
the Jefferson
it up is like way ahead.
The Jefferson's doorman shows up and then stands there waiting for a tip.
Yeah.
Third floor, kitchenware.
All right. Well, you guys, are you down for coming back tomorrow?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. So ABC DTOS will be back. And in the meantime, if you're listening to us, you might want to listen to us talk about the big Ahsoka Shoka going on, the latest new Disney Plus series that has everyone talking. We are talking about it too, but you can only hear it by becoming a Patreon. Go to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon. You get to hear us every Saturday. We will be dropping our new thoughtful, in-depth review of Ahsoka, a Star Wars story. And so I guess until tomorrow, Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.